everyone, I'm Captain Logan. Welcome to another Primetime Crisis vlog. Today I'm tackling the most recent episode of Arrow. It's Penance, and as promised last episode, we see this time Oliver and Diggle's wife, Lila, going to rescue Diggle, or should I say breaking him out without his permission from the federal pen. He doesn't want to be rescued. He thinks he deserves to be in prison, not for what he was falsely accused for a couple episodes ago, but because of the very contrived way he murdered his very contrived brother, who was brought back last season and retroactively when we thought he was dead for a long time. And anyway, as you can tell, I'm not especially riveted by this story because I don't like what we've been doing with Diggle in the first place. I thought by the end of last season he had gotten incredibly melodramatic. I didn't really understand where he was coming from, and he was being, I think, characterized about as inconsistently as everybody else in the show. He was kind of the Rock for a while, you know? I don't mean Dwayne Johnson. He was the Rock for this show, where everybody else was kind of loose and all over the place and played for cheap drama, and we were having a hard time, and I think from even the second season, coming up with cool things for Diggle to do, but he was the voice of reason, he was Oliver's conscience, and then he got to a place where he had to get roped into just as much of the melodrama as everybody else, and that's kind of where we are with him now. So I would have been okay, honestly, with Diggle being written out of the show, at least for a while. I'm still honestly kind of surprised that we haven't killed him off yet, but I was surprised that we didn't kill off Lance a long time ago, and we don't seem to be able to kill or keep characters dead. And I don't mean to say that those are characters that I want to see necessarily leave or leave forever. Diggle at this point, just, again, because of his inconsistent characterization, and I'm just not liking him as much as I used to, I would be totally fine with him being written out, but there were a number of places where it would have been easy to dramatically and tragically drop one of those characters, and now, I guess the point I'm making is, now we've kept them around, and they're here, and so we have to do something with them, and we find it difficult to find a place for them. I kind of like the role Lance is in right now. Potentially, we'll see where it goes. In being deputy mayor and trying to clean himself up and stop being an alcoholic. Again, but there are some cool things that we could do with that. Diggle, on the other hand, I think is maybe either he's played out or we've kind of messed him up beyond repair. I'm not sure he's salvageable. I don't know if we can bring him back to what was really cool about him before. But at any rate, so this episode is, I think, kind of quality-wise, story-wise, par for the course for the season so far. I think we have had kind of a consistent brand of quality so far, and I don't mean that it's a really high bar of quality or anything. I think it's a lot better so far than last season, but I also thought that the beginning of last season was okay, and then we went south real quick. My big reservation remains the same as it was last episode, which is I don't like the implications of Oliver kind of being the ruler of Star City and kind of the almost self-proclaimed dictator without coming right out and saying that, and the way the people are falling in line and being okay with it. And this episode takes that even further, and it's still a massive problem. Oliver doesn't really have a character arc this episode. He's kind of, it looks for a minute like he's gonna learn that he's pushed a line with his friends, that he's crossed a line, that he can't tell everybody what to do, that he isn't always right, and it can't always be his way or the highway. This is a lesson that I think he's kind of learned before, and we've got him back to, this compartmentalization, need-to-know basis thing, where he tells everybody what they're supposed to do. He doesn't always tell them everything. He doesn't always tell them the truth, and last episode was all about his supposedly learning to trust his team, And now he's right back to, no, you're going to do what I tell you to, or you can leave. And I was really surprised by where he left everything at the end of this episode, where he's basically just vindicated for that behavior. I was really surprised by it. I got a comment last week, I think it was from Red Letter Antilles, who said he doesn't mind that Oliver is killing the season necessarily because he doesn't have to have the same morality as the viewer for us to find him a sympathetic character. The problem is that we keep going back and forth with that, and that he's inconsistent, and that the show can't decide what he's all about at any given moment. And I completely agree with Red Letter Antilles. That's not the problem necessarily. It isn't that he is. It's really awkward. It's not that his morality is not my own. It's that I can't decide what the show thinks about it. I can't decide because this is a show that spoon feeds. It is often somewhat insulting, and it doesn't give its audience a lot of credit. And it tells us what we're supposed to think. It tells us who the good guys are. It tells us who the bad guys are. And when you have a show like that is pretending to be about shades of gray, but it still plays it like it's black and white, where the heroes always win and the heroes are heroic because the script tells us they are, then it becomes really problematic when the stuff that our protagonist is doing is scary, and the implications are kind of mortifying, and yet the show seems to be saying that he's grown as a person and that the way he's acting is okay. And I'm not 100% sure that that's what's going on. That's what's frustrating about this, is that his friends, his new teammates, and Felicity certainly have a point when they say that Diggle has made his own choices and that he's his own person, and that Oliver shouldn't be going off and forcing him to live a different kind of life than the one that he's decided to live right now. It doesn't even really matter who's right and who's wrong. It's Diggle's life. And if he doesn't want to leave, he shouldn't have to leave. Well, I agree with that. And it would have been okay, of course, if Oliver had a really good argument on the other side, and that he stuck to his guns and insisted on doing that, and then at the end, it landed however it was going to land. What I don't like is that it feels like the episode itself is coming out and saying that he did the right thing at the end. I think it's confusing because once you get to the end, Oliver convinces Diggle that he should leave, and that, if I'm reading this right, that the idea is, I understand that you feel like you need to pay a penance for, this is the name of the episode title, that you need to, pay a penance that you need to be punished for what you did to your brother. But the best way to do that is to go out and help people. The world needs you, or at least the Star City needs you, as opposed to sitting around and rotting and being of no use to anyone. And I didn't, for whatever reason, in the moment, I did not buy that argument. That is maybe a somewhat fair argument, but the problem is he's still kind of forcing him to do what he wants. He comes in, I don't think Oliver would have taken no for an answer. I mean, conveniently, Diggle comes around real quick and decides, in about a minute and a half, yes, of course, let's go ahead and jump through this hole that you just blew out of the ground, which, the floor, which admittedly is pretty cool. I like the breakout scene. But by the end, Diggle basically tells Oliver that he should never change. That the way he, forces people to do things his way is the right way to go, and that he should keep doing that, basically, is sort of what it sounds like he's saying, I mean, and they play it kind of like this fun, oh, Oliver, you're always so, stubborn, and you insist that people do things your way, but you were right this time, so never change. I don't know, that really bugged me, especially, and again, so my issue isn't, Oliver's not acting the way I think he should, that his morality is different from mine. The issue is, many other people in the show aren't liking what he's doing, and don't think that he's doing the right thing, and yet they keep falling in line and working with him anyway. And I'm just bugged by that. I feel like there should be more pushback. I feel like the consequences don't feel realistic to me, is I guess the point I'm making, where It seems like if Oliver is going to keep treating people this way, he should be on his own. And at the beginning, he wanted to do that anyway. I could totally see it going there. I could see Oliver going, no, what I'm doing is necessary, and my way is right. The only way you can keep the city safe and you can keep it functioning is if you play by my rules. And if you can't do that, leave. And everyone should leave. And at this point, I think kind of everybody should leave. And then Oliver can see if he can handle it on his own or not. And obviously, well, I was going to say obviously he probably can't, but right now, he's working with a bunch of kind of street riffraff that aren't really all that helpful, and so far, with the exception of Ragman, have just been liabilities, just so that we can have another team, because we can't apparently have one of these superhero shows where we just have a lone vigilante. It always has to be a team, or at least a team of people behind him. We do that in every one of these shows. Even Supergirl has that, where there's a support team that's behind her on computers and stuff every time. And I mean, we do it with all these shows. But anyway, so right now I feel like Oliver would be just as, I mean, except for, Diggle coming back, who obviously is experienced and he works well with, he would be better off by himself, and it just seems like those ought to be the consequences. That's kind of what we've set up. I don't understand why these people are agreeing to continue to work with him, especially after, this is the thing that kind of bugs me the most, the team gets totally brutalized by Oliver when he decides he's going to go after Diggle, and they don't agree with that, and they think they should stop him. And once they've been, once they look like they need facial reconstructive surgery, I think maybe that's the time where they say, you know what, we can't work with this guy. I mean, like, the last couple episodes have been about their learning to work as a team, and his learning to trust them, and they're learning to trust him, and that all breaks down when he says, no, I'm going to go do this thing, and they say, and they have really good reasons for trying to stop him, I think. There's a really good chance he doesn't come back from this mission. There's a really good chance that he either gets killed or put in prison. What he's doing is illegal. And there's also, now that I'm thinking about it, no talk about how he's going against the system. He's the mayor. He's, like, the rules for Oliver should be a little bit different now. That's the other thing, is, and I just think, like, based on the reason he wanted to become the mayor in the first place. Maybe we're not making it clear enough that he's a way different person now than he was when he decided to be mayor, when he said, the city needs a hero with a face. I shouldn't just be hiding. I can do what I needed to do in the light. And then he gets dark again because of Damien Dark, and decides that that his old, tougher methods are necessary. We should be talking more about that, and maybe it's leading there. Maybe what I'm saying is premature, because to be fair, he certainly doesn't seem interested in being the mayor. He's not hardly even doing that job. It seems to just be kind of getting in the way. So perhaps we are about to have a discussion about that, about how Oliver has kind of become closer to first season Oliver. That's not conducive with the more idealistic, ideology that he built last season that he's kind of already turned against. So maybe we're on our way, and maybe I'm complaining about nothing. And we should, hopefully that's what it's going to do. But it's just weird to me that that his team and Felicity are continuing to work with him and are acting kind of fine with what he's doing by the end of this episode. I mean, I suppose the idea is that the system isn't working. I'm saying that, like, Oliver is a mayor, so he should be working within the law, but then there's a conspiracy in the government that leads to Diggle getting, thrown in prison in the first place. So I mean, I to a degree see where Oliver's coming from. If Diggle was on board with it, I could see it more, but it just seems to be a matter of control. He comes up with all kinds of excuses through the episode about why Diggle needs to come back. He needs to do it for his family. He needs to do it to, help save the city. But it sure seems a lot more selfish than that. And again, early on, we're talking about it like he's being really selfish, and he's forcing people to conform to what he wants for them. And then by the end, it's kind of played as that's what he should have done, and I boggles my mind that's where we went with that. So Wild Dog is still a complete wild card. He's a loose cannon. At the beginning of this, they're on another mission, and this time they're going in the field, and it's not just practice. And Wild Dog jumps the gun with his gun and shoots when it was supposed to be Artemis's shot, and he compromises the whole mission. What's weird is right after that, Oliver is talking to Felicity about how everybody's improving, and I don't know what he's talking about. It doesn't seem like anybody's really learned much of anything, and I think that what happens to Wild Dog at the end of this, when he gets kidnapped and he's being tortured by Tobias Church, that might ultimately end up leading to his maturing a little bit and growing. But I don't buy that Oliver hasn't gotten rid of Wild Dog by now. He doesn't listen to anyone. And to be fair, Oliver is setting that example for him. This is how Oliver operates. I'm not going to listen to what anybody tells me. I'm not going to have any kind of patience. When I want something done, I'm gonna jump in and hope to God that it works. And he's not a team player. And we should honestly be probably doing a story about that, about how if you keep refusing to work with others, you can't expect them on your team to work well with you. And again, we've sort of kind of done that, but it's been more of a superficial, do you trust me or not thing. And what it really should be about is just whether or not you know how to work with others, and whether or not your motivations are selfish or for the greater good. So I'm still not in love with this team dynamic. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about this. Did I hear this right at the beginning of the episode? This kind of throwaway line about how Mr. Terrific used to be an Olympic athlete. Have we heard this before, or are we tacking this on because of fan complaints that this guy isn't even an athlete and he's already out in the field? I don't know if I'm right about that. Somebody leave a comment and let me know. But I thought that was a fishy line. And then you've got Artemis, who that actress is just terrible. I'm sorry. I don't find her believable at all. And it's Power Ranger level acting or worse. But I like Ragman a lot. I think the actor's good. I think the costume is super cool. Obviously, he's got a big leg up on everybody else because his costume is sort of pseudo-superpowered, and he can do all kinds of things nobody else can do. I was surprised that I kind of liked his dynamic, the dynamic that he's building with Felicity, and the deal with their guilt and grief and the penance they feel like they both, by the end, maybe need to face. I was a little worried for a minute because Ragman is kind of the only one of these guys I really like, and then it looked like maybe we were gonna write him out for a while, and I guess I should have expected him to come back to the team at the end. That's kind of the obvious way to do this character arc, but it played okay to me. I thought that he was somewhat reasonable, somewhat fair in not wanting to work with Felicity because with the team, because looking at Felicity reminds him of what he's lost, and I like that he doesn't straight up blame her. It's not like a I want revenge situation. It's just I'm not going to be effective. This is how I read it. I'm not going to be effective. I'm not going to be good for this team because I'm just distracted having Felicity there. I think that's fair. I can't speak from any kind of experience. I don't know what it would be like if I was in that situation, if someone made a call that was the only call they could make, but they technically were the person responsible for my entire family's demise, if I would be able to work with that person. I imagine I might have the same thing he does, but I like that he gets that he works it out. I mean, I like that it's still difficult for him, but he comes around and he figures out how to work with her. And, it's convenient when he walks in, of course, just before they're about to roll out and go take care of Tobias Church. He's like, he just shows up. I think it might have been better if somehow or rather his coming around to be on the team was, in the first place, motivated by his experiencing something similar to what Felicity had to do last season that led to his family being killed, which is how the episode ends and why they put together this pact that I kind of like, that they're not going to allow each other to wallow in guilt, to drown in guilt. He and his teammates end up having to leave Wild Dog behind because they're not going to get away if they they'll probably lose more of them if they go and try to rescue him right then. So they have to make that hard call, and I like that that's Felicity's order. That Felicity makes a hard call just like she did when she had to drop that bomb on Ragman's old hometown. And he understands why she has to do that, and it's a difficult thing for him too because he decided to listen to her, and so Wild Dog has been captured, and he feels bad about it, and that guilt is natural. But both of them also have to realize that while they're responsible, kind of, in a direct way, it's not something they could have helped. It's not really their fault. They were put in an impossible situation, and I surprisingly thought that arc worked pretty well. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about this time around. Like I said, and also Oliver is totally responsible. It's totally his fault that that Wild Dog ends up getting kidnapped at the end and that they go into that situation in the first place. I mean, again, a little convenient that Oliver leaves and this just happens to be when Tobias Church makes his next move. It might have been cool if somehow or rather Church got wind of the Green Arrow not being around, and that's why he makes his move when he does, but it's weird that there's no conversation with Oliver and his team about what's going to happen when he leaves. He should have probably said, look, no matter what happens, you guys are not ready to go in the field by yourself. Apparently that doesn't happen, or if it does, they don't talk about it and it happens completely off screen. But he leaves and they have to go deal with Tobias Church, even though they're totally not ready for it. And at least somebody gets kidnapped and somebody else gets shot. I mean, they really aren't ready for it. And I like that it's not like this triumphant win for a team of wannabe superheroes that aren't remotely prepared to be in the field. So I guess that's good. Mr. Terrific gets shot in the gut. It makes me wonder if he's maybe going to decide, as I keep thinking he ought to, that he's in over his head and he should not be doing this. But I guess we'll see. I don't like Oliver right now this season. I don't know that he's either not making sense or he's terrifying. I don't know if... I just don't think this show is smart enough to realize what it's doing, and that makes me think that Oliver can't possibly realize the scary dictator he's turning into. Anyway, what do you guys think about this episode and about the season so far? Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. I'm Captain Logan, and I will see you again with another episode of Crisis here in a couple of days with Legends of Tomorrow.